All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to radically rethink how we value our single most precious, completely non-renewable resource. You know, we always hear that old cliche, time is money. But today, we're actually going to break down a classic, beautifully simple fable that completely shatters that whole comparison. Seriously, if you've ever felt like your days are just kind of slipping away, or if you're someone who struggles with procrastination, this analysis is absolutely for you. We're going to unpack a deeply profound lesson hidden inside a simple story about a father, his son, and an ordinary pocket watch.
It's a massive question, right? What is the actual price of time? To really get into this, our source material introduces us to a worried father living in a small village, and he was really stressed out about his son. You see, this kid was notoriously lazy. He didn't work, he didn't study, he just sort of wandered around the village all day long, totally aimless. Now, the father wanted to teach him a lesson, but one that would actually stick. So instead of just giving him another boring lecture, he came up with this brilliant two-part practical experiment to force the kid to answer this exact question.
Section 1. The value of an object and the father's first test.
So the father calls his son over, opens up a cupboard, and hands him a pocket watch. His instructions were super simple but highly specific. Take this watch down to the market and ask everyone you meet how much they think it's worth. He didn't want him to actually sell the thing, he just wanted his son to see firsthand how people assign value to a physical item. And man, the result of that trip was just total chaos. The boy showed the exact same physical watch to all these different people, and the market threw out wildly different numbers. One guy says it's worth 500 rupees, another's like, nah, 800. And a third person confidently declares it's 1,000 rupees. Think about that. The physical parts, the glass, the metal, the little gears inside, they were exactly the same in every single conversation. Yet the price tag fluctuated entirely based on who was looking at it, how much money they had, or maybe just what kind of mood they were in that day. The value of the object was completely subjective.
So, the boy comes back home, totally scratching his head over this. He tells his dad, listen, literally everyone gave me a different price for this watch. Some said 500, some 800, some 1,000. Nobody down at the market could agree on one single definitive price. But the father? He just smiled. This was exactly what he was hoping for. He calmly tells the boy to put the watch back in the cupboard. Boom. Step 1 of the experiment was a complete success. The kid had just learned that physical objects have these arbitrary, totally made-up values. Moving on to part 2, the unanswerable question, where we flip the script.
The very next morning, the dad calls his son over again and hands him the exact same pocket watch. But this time, he's sending him back into the same bustling market with a totally different mission. Yesterday, it was all about pricing the physical object. Today, the father gives him this really strange directive. He says, don't ask for the price of the watch. Ask people the price of the time kept inside it. The son is understandably incredibly confused by this. I mean, how do you put a price tag on something invisible, right? Something that isn't made of metal or glass. But despite having no idea what his dad was getting at, he listened, and he headed back into town to ask this wildly abstract question.
Well, as you can probably guess, the market's reaction was a little different this time around. When the boy walked up to people and asked, hey, how much is the time inside this watch worth, he definitely wasn't getting offers for 500 or 1,000 rupees. Instead, people just looked at him like he was crazy. Some literally laughed in his face. Others just shooed him away, calling it a foolish question. The poor kid felt incredibly embarrassed and just sad. But what this really highlights for us is that society in general almost never stops to actually think about what time is worth. We are all so hardwired to value stuff, physical objects, that asking about the value of time itself just sounds completely absurd to the average person on the street.
All right, part 3. The watchmaker's wisdom and a truly profound realization.
Feeling totally defeated, the boy eventually wanders away from the loud market and stops at this tiny, quiet shop. Inside, there's an old watchmaker, just meticulously working away on these tiny, delicate gears. When the boy timidly asks him that same weird question about the price of time, the reaction is night and day. The old guy actually stops what he's doing, he doesn't laugh at all, he just gives the kid this kind smile, because as a guy who spent his entire life measuring seconds and minutes, he completely understood what the boy was really asking. And then he softly drops this absolute bombshell of wisdom. You can give millions of rupees, but you cannot buy back even 1 second of your life. Wow. I mean, that is the ultimate contrast, isn't it? Yesterday, the boy learned that money buys objects, and those objects can be returned or resold. But today, he learns time is a whole different ballgame. It is totally intangible and tragically irreversible. You could have all the money in the world, and you still can't negotiate with a clock to give you even 1 single second back.
The old man then breaks down this duality of time perfectly so the kid can grasp it. Look, on one hand, you have the bad news, the inescapable truth. Time passes. It just ticks away. Whether we're grinding out a workday or just sitting on the couch, awake or asleep, we cannot stop it. But on the other hand, you have the good news, and it's really good news. You choose exactly how to spend it. We might have absolutely zero control over the flow of time, but we have a 100% monopoly over how we direct it. The real power here isn't in trying to stop the clock, it's in what you choose to do while that clock is ticking.
Which brings us to part 4, your daily 24 hours, the great equalizer.
Let's just zoom out from the fable for a second and apply this directly to us. Because what the old man said reveals what is basically the ultimate universal law of human existence. It's literally the one undeniable thing that ties every single human being together, no matter how much money you have, what your status is, or where you live. 24. That's the magic number. Every single person on Earth gets exactly 24 hours in the day. No exceptions. Jeff Bezos cannot buy a 25th hour, and a person with absolutely nothing in their bank account is never shortchanged a single minute. The richest and the poorest among us receive that exact same daily deposit.
Think of a single day as a pie. And here's the crazy part. The circumference of that pie is the exact same size for you, for me, for a CEO, and for a college student. Since our daily allowance is completely identical, the only true differentiator in life, the thing that really separates success from just being stuck, is how we choose to slice up and use those pieces. You can fill those hours with learning, working on a passion, building a business, or you can fill them with endless wandering, just like the boy at the start of our story. The pie honestly doesn't care. It just gets consumed either way.
So when the boy hears this, boom, the light bulb goes on. His eyes just light up with understanding. He rushes all the way home to his dad, a completely transformed kid. He finally grasped 3 huge truths. Number 1, time is totally free for everyone, but it is absolutely priceless. Number 2, you can't hoard it, you can't lock it in a vault, but you can spend it wisely. And number 3, which is definitely the most urgent, once it's gone, it never ever comes back. The boy realized that by just goofing off and wasting his days, he wasn't just missing out on making some money. He was literally throwing his own life in the garbage, second by second.
And that wraps up our explainer for today, but it leaves us with one massive, unignorable question. How are you going to spend your priceless, non-refundable resource today? Are you going to let it just slip away like some cheap gadget in the market? Or are you going to invest it like the completely irreplaceable treasure that it is? Seriously, take a look at your daily habits. Protect your time, direct your focus, and remember that clock is ticking right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me to explore this awesome concept, and I challenge you, go make the absolute most of whatever is left of your 24 hours today.